Answering your phone all day. I didn't know which number to call.
And I was right in the office right then too. It just,
Good evening. Want to entertain a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
second motion.
Properly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're out of closed session. Again, welcome to the Gates County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. My name is Althea Riddick, Board Chair. This is Commissioner Owens, Vice Chair, Commissioner Hoffler, and Commissioner Ray Freeman. And we're going to be joined in a minute by Commissioner Jonathan Jones, sitting at the end. He's absent right now. He'll be back. But again, welcome, and this is being live streamed, so you're on. Let's look at the agenda. Do you have an agenda adjustment?
Madam Chair, I have one request under Roman numeral 10. I'd like for us to table B, Historic Courthouse Lease Agreement.
We're tabling Historic Courthouse Lease Agreement. That's under new business B. Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as adjusted.
I have another amendment.
Oh, excuse me.
That's okay. I want to add C under new business, the Comprehensive Water Department Review. That'll be item C under number 10. Are there any more adjustments or adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none? Face mask. There's another one. We just received a face mask policy from the GET System Safety Plan policy. We're going to add that like A1 under the GET System Safety Plan policy. So we're going to add the face mask policy. I think it's at your table. Yes, it's at our table, at our seats. So Ms. Patrice Lassiter will be here to go over that and the safety plan policy. So that's another addition to new business. Any other adjustments? Hearing none?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted.
And I'll second that motion, Madam Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda? Are there any changes to the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent agenda that's been given to us earlier in the week.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, Madam Chairman.
Motion and second, all approved?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Special guests. We have Mike Burns from Broadband Feasibility Study. I believe he's going to be joined by Dr. Coldiff Arat. You have the materials in your packet. They're going to be joining us remotely, so I guess they're contacting them now. Mr. Burns,
Yes, ma'am.
good evening. How are you?
I'm good, Dr. Riddick. How are you?
I'm glad to see you, except for on the phone all the time. Now I get to see who you are. Yes.
Please don't run the other way.
Okay.
Could we get a little volume?
Can you turn the volume up a little bit?
I sure can. I think that's about as good as I do, but I guess I can sit a little closer to the mic. Is that a little better?
That's a little better. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
This is Vice Chair Jack Owens to my right.
Commissioner?
To his right is Commissioner Jonathan Jones. This is
Commissioner.
Commissioner Hoffler and
Commissioner.
Commissioner Freeman. And so we'll welcome you here all the way from Georgia, and we want to hear your presentation about the collaboration we are going to join you in with Dr. Karat and ECSU.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, for the opportunity to talk to you about this project that we're all very excited about. I want to start the conversation, if I may, with just a brief background about my company and what we do, so you understand the genesis behind putting this collaboration together. My name is Michael Burns. I'm the president of the Community and College Partners Program, or C2P2. C2P2 was created to provide technical assistance to communities and counties that need that technical assistance to be able to help those communities and counties move forward. We don't prescribe what people get. We ask people what they need help with, and that's what we try to provide help with. Our assistance comes at no cost to the people that we help, and our schools are volunteers in providing assistance. Although, the schools get tangible benefits from this, real practical projects, capstone projects, classwork projects where they can put their education to work for their students, and the students get to put something on their resume. So when they graduate, it wasn't just about working at Hardee's. They can actually say they put their education to work, and we know from talking to students they've gotten much better jobs. So there's mutual benefit on both sides. About 4 years ago, in the process of working with 80, 90 different communities, I started to discover that the overriding issue and the people that I was talking about was information technology and access to broadband. I began to understand that the lack of access to broadband, comprehensive broadband, robust broadband, caused issues for the communities that didn't have that access. COVID-19 has been a scourge upon the entire planet. But the one thing that COVID-19 has further taught us is how important access to broadband is, because of the tremendous impact it's had on education, the impact on the accessibility to telehealth, and the economic impact of not having access to broadband. So prior to the pandemic, I reached out to the National Telecommunication Information Administration, which is part of the Department of Commerce, and asked them if they would collaborate with me to teach colleges how to provide broadbands for communities, to work with the communities to take a look at economically where were they, and more importantly, where did they want to be. From a health perspective, where were they and where did they want to be? From an educational standpoint, where were they and where did they want to be? And to be able to capture those requirements, put those together in a broadband plan, develop a plan based on what was most feasible at the time, and taking a look at what was available or not available to build upon that or come up with a new system so that we could give the community a plan for, these are your requirements. This is what IT-wise or broadband-wise, the capacity that you should have, not just for today, but for the future. And also design a system for them so they would know what it would look like, and approximately how much it would cost, so that the community didn't have to try to figure that out. But more importantly, it would give the community, when broadband resources became available, you could tell people what you wanted rather than take what you're given. Part of my concern has been so many communities, when resources become available, they take what they're given. In a lot of cases, it doesn't meet their needs, but they take what they're given because or otherwise they wouldn't have anything. We want communities and counties to be in a position to tell people what you need and tell people what you want, because when you can tell people what you actually need for today into the future, you've got a much better chance of actually getting what you really need instead of just taking what you're given. So that was the idea behind that. So we did a pilot project in Alabama in 2019. project worked out successful. And the NTIA asked me if I would work with other colleges to be able to continue to do work with colleges to help prepare these plans. So I had the good fortune to work with Elizabeth City State University on a couple other projects prior to this, and I reached out to them, Dr. Rawat in particular, and asked if the school would be interested in working with us to be able to, help a county or a community get their plans developed. Dr. Rawat agreed, and because he knew Gates County and was familiar, particularly with the chair, he said he would like to work with Gates County if they were interested. So I said that was fine. I had the good fortune to talk to Dr. Riddick about what we wanted to do. She thought it was a good idea to give the county a plan that they could then use to help, move the county forward into the future. And again, the future is coming. If you're prepared, that does a much better service to your citizens because they have what they need to be prepared to greet it. So she thought it was a good idea. She subsequently provided some point of contacts in the county for me to talk to on the education side, the IT side, the health side, the economic side, and everyone thought that was a good idea. So we have subsequently talked to Elizabeth City, who was thrilled to be a part of that collaboration. The NTIA has actually provided training to Elizabeth City, both professors and students, to understand how to put the plan together, the different components of it. They've given them sample plans, they've given them background information. I have a partner who has spent 20 plus years in the IT world who has actually given them databases that will help them map out what the IT plan should look like. And he will serve as a resource to the IT students to use his decades of experience and expertise to help them put together a plan that we think will put Gates County in a position to tell people exactly what you need, not just today, but into the future. We're also looking to bring in some funding, and there has been some funds provided to NTIA to support the development of plans and projects. And we're hoping that once this plan is developed, not only will the county have the plan, but we can take a look at projects in the plan and actually help start implementing some of those things. I had a conversation earlier today with someone that was telling me that the federal government is looking to spend literally trillions of dollars on infrastructure. And I have been telling people for 3 years, in 2021, broadband is not nice to have. Broadband is infrastructure. If you don't have it today and your kids aren't in school, they're not getting an education. If you don't have it and you don't have quick access to a hospital, you don't have access to telemedicine. There are so many things that make it a vital part of how we live and what we do that it's like water and like electricity. You have to have it. So we're convinced, and we know that those conversations are taking place in Congress, that when that broadband plan is put together, they will be spending literally hundreds of billions of dollars on broadband with the intent to put broadband in communities just like they electrified rural America in the 30s. We want to make sure that when they come to Gates County and say, hey, we've got the resources, what about broadband? Gates County can say, hey, this is what we need. This is how we need it. This is the needs that it's going to meet, not just today, but into the future. And this is what it's going to do when you give us exactly what we asked for. And we think you'll be in a much better position, not just to meet today's needs, but the future needs for all the citizens of Gates County. So we're excited about this opportunity. We're excited to be able to help Gates County. We believe you have a great partner with Elizabeth City State University. We have met nothing but great conversation with both the professors and the students, and they are very much looking forward to getting started and working on this. And I hope it's something that you, the Board of Commissioners, would think it's a good idea, would like to see this happen. And I wanted to make sure that you understand what our intentions are. Again, all this support comes to you at no cost. It was designed to be that way. I wanted people to be able to get help regardless of whether they could pay for it or not. You shouldn't lack the ability to go after resources because you can't afford to pay for the technical assistance. This program was designed to give people that help at no cost so they can sit at the table with the Charlottes and with the Atlantas and everybody else can ask for the resources just like everybody else does. So it's consistent with what my company does. It's consistent with the way the program worked when I created it and spent 8.5 years doing it at EPA. And we are certainly hoping to see this not only be a great plan, but a plan that we can pull projects out of and actually, help the county, not just today, but as I said, into the future. So that's the presentation. You had the one-page information paper, which laid out a lot of the things that I had talked to you about. My contact information is on there, and I would tell you, as I told Dr. Riddick, anybody who is a community or a county that I work with, I am available 24/7. So if you're having coffee Saturday morning or scratching your head, Sunday evening, and you want to contact me, email or call or text, that's fine because I do this for the citizens, not just for me. So thank you for the opportunity to discuss the project. And I'm not sure if Dr. Rawat is on. Dr. Rawat, are you available?
He's not on.
Okay. Okay.
So we're going to
So-
ask you some, I hope the commissioners have some questions or comments for you before we let you go.
Oh, no, please. Ask all the questions you like.
Commissioner Freeman?
Well, I have a lot of questions. I don't have that much time. However, it does sound very exciting. Glad you're partnering with Elizabeth City State.
And Commissioner, please feel free to, my email is on the sheet. You can either email me or call me, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. This is not for me. This is for Gates County, so I want to make sure that all your questions are answered, okay?
Commissioner Hoffler?
I think it is great because this is something we have needed, and like you say, that so that we can tell you what we need for schools, for healthcare and all things, and it's just very exciting to have this linkage.
Commissioner Owens?
Well, you had my 100% of my attention as soon as you said you can get what you need, not what somebody's going to give you. So.
I thought that was going to be no cost.
Well, I have to say it went to 500% then. But very thorough presentation. Thank you, sir, and I look forward to the next steps.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Jones?
Mike stated that there's no cost to the people we help. So there's no cost to the county for any of this?
No, you will, sir, you will never, when you're working with me, you will never pay a dime for the technical assistance that you get, ever. You'll never pay for it. That's the cornerstone of what I do. So it comes completely free and you will never pay for it.
So as I've heard many times, there's no such thing as free money. So where does the funding come from?
Well, NTIA pays me to be able to put these partnerships together. So your tax dollars are already supporting this because they pay me and my partner to provide to put these partnerships together with the schools and to be able to answer questions and to make sure all your concerns are addressed. So, and they actually, once, God willing, we can all travel again. They'll give me the opportunity to hopefully one day come and shake your hands in person and meet everybody. So you already paid for this when you paid your tax dollars to fund NTIA. The support that we provide, it's designed to come at no cost. And I know I used to tell people I'm from the government, I'm here to help you, but I'm not from the government, but I'm still here to help you. The program was created to do this in a way that it would, when we can provide you assistance and you don't have to pay for it and the help doesn't have to be paid for, we can provide long-term relationships and we can work with you in Elizabeth City, not just in 2021, but 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. That was the whole goal, was be able to work with people long-term. And when money's not on the table, you can do that. And we've got 76 colleges in 20 states that we've worked with, and we haven't paid any of the schools anything, and they have done about 160 different kind of projects. So we know it works, and it's been pretty successful.
Anything further, Commissioner Jones?
Not right now, no, ma'am, Madam Chair.
I see Dr. Arad. Dr. Arad has joined us. Dr. Colville Arad, a friend of mine from Elizabeth City State University. He's the endowed professor and dean of the School of Science, Aviation, Health, and Technology. Welcome, Dr. Arad.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope you can hear me clearly.
We can
Well,
hear you.
thank you. I just wanted to stress the point that you brought up a good point about where the funding is coming from. But as a commitment from Elizabeth City State University, we have ways to fund our students who will be engaged in the project. So we are taking care of all the student expenses and compensations, stipends or scholarships that students will be presented to do this work. And our faculty are volunteering their time to get involved in such an important project. And I know that very recently, federal government has announced around $1.7 billion for broadband type projects. So we are hoping that this could serve as a pilot project, and then we all can apply for those type of funding. So we are very positive that we'll be successful in getting future funding once we have this groundwork laid out in terms of a feasibility kind of study.
Okay, thank both of you for joining us this evening. We're excited about the collaboration and the partnership, and hopefully to grow into a relationship, which is not the same as a partnership. Arad knows what I'm talking about. I always talk about
right.
those relationships, not partnerships. Again, thank you for taking the time to explain this, and you have the materials in your packet, so if you have any questions, please email them to Mr. Burns or Dr. Arad.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We appreciate the time. Thank you very much. And please, if you have questions, just please send them to me and I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on special guest is Mike Barnett, McDavid.
Can I,
Go ahead.
so we're partner with them,
We'll just send, we'll,
because we just giving them the green light?
yes, we did.
Okay.
But we need to do something else. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are we giving them, like?
We're giving the green light. Matter of fact, we have 4 entities that Diane sent to him to work within the county, the superintendent of school system, IT, which includes Mr. Smith for the school system, and Mr. Curry for the county, Diane for economic development, because, was it you? Yes, because you're the interim county manager. Did I get them all?
Billy Wynn for help.
Billy Wynn, we had to have him for the health side of it. So we were very comprehensive in making sure we touch all sectors, so that when we do this plan, it takes into account everything: health, the school system, economic development, and IT. So we're going to move forward. As we move forward, I will be bringing back anything I receive from Mr. Burns. I will share it with the commissioners. Any questions you have, take him up on his offer to just email him or call him. He's available at any time. Okay? I have here that Mike Barnett from McDavid Associates Housing is here for an update.
Thanks, sir.
Good to see you, Mike.
Hi there, how are you?
Down the road.
Thank you very much.
These notes are very brief and more for you to follow along with my comments as much as make any decisions. And y'all have to forgive me for being out of breath. I'm old and overweight, and y'all stairs kind of give me a minute to get recovered from. So. You have 3 active housing programs now that we're helping the county with. There's a 2008 CDBG-NR. There's a 2017 ESFR LP DR, and there's a 2019 ESFR LP. I put the 2 North Carolina Housing Finance Agency programs on the first page, just to give you a brief update. On the 2019 Essential Single Family Rehab Loan Pool Program, we've completed intake on 31 units. We have one that has just come in. We still need to evaluate. We've had 3 units approved for funding. We had a bid opening yesterday. Is that right? Yesterday? Had a bid opening yesterday. We only got 1 bidder, so we'll need to rebid some of those. We have 4 units that are ready for local approval. Those should be coming this week to the manager to approve another group of 4 in addition to the 3 that we have. And then we'll upload those in the Housing Finance Agency. And we have 3 units that are awaiting data collection and input. On your 2017 ESFR LP DR program, that's a disaster recovery of the Essentials program. There are 2 construction units complete. There's 1 construction unit that's under construction, but we have sent requesting additional information from the homeowner last November, and we're working with that homeowner to try to get that information from them. We have 2 that are actively under construction, a third that is probably 90% through, but we've got to get some drainage prices to try to get an area of the yard drained. We need to get that from a plumber. We have 1 that needs reduction and rebid. We bid it one time, and it's come in $50,000, $60,000. And this program only can allow $40,000. So we've got to find a way to reduce that contract, reduce the activities within the funding available. And we have 1 new application. We visited them this week. Unfortunately, they weren't home, and they don't have voicemail, so we'll continue to try to get up with that person. And I think this is one that had contacted the county manager and gotten information from us. So, and I had been out there myself. The third program, which is not funded by North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, is funded through the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And this program has 4 replacement units. The activities we've completed to date is ownership verification through Attorney Godwin. The source documentation of income we've completed. We've completed boundary and existing home location surveys of those. We've received demolition bids and awarded those demolition bids. And we have sent out the advertisements on the home replacement package, and we hope to get those back hopefully by March 4th. We've actually published that over a broad spectrum of northeastern North Carolina. I think Rocky Mountain, Greenville, Elizabeth City. There may be one I missed, but I'm not sure. So we should be getting those packages back in, and those are proposal packages, and we'll go to make sure that we're dealing apples to apples and have a package to present to the homeowners. And I'm hoping to be able to do that by the end of March. The temporary relocation, in other words, moving the folks out, you can't demo a house with a minute. The demolition and construction of the units typically is going to take 150 to 180 days after we get approval and approval to order the home. They've got to pick out their colors. They've got to pick out that kind of thing. The home dealer typically will meet with the homeowners and make those selections. Program closeout we expect to be in November. However, a short deadline extension may be needed depending on home production lead time. There's a lot of homes being produced in eastern North Carolina right now, especially all through the down eastern North Carolina where they're replacing homes and rebuild homes. Rebuild NC is replacing homes. But we don't see that as an issue with all the COVID and other disaster stuff going on. Love to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Freeman?
Yes, sir. Have you had any communication with some of these were from the year 2017 as pertaining to a date that they might be able to complete that?
Which, you're talking about on the front page?
Yes, sir. And, you know, specifically, we talk about maybe the Waltons.
Walton is the unit where we've sent for additional information to the homeowner and waiting since November to try to get information back. And we've secured additional funding for them as well, and seems to be some issue with settling the process and the paperwork with them.
Is there something complicated about that paperwork?
No, sir. It's a modification to a deed of trust that increases their forgiven deed of trust by an amount to do the drainage in the yard.
Okay.
We went to Housing Finance Agency and got their limit increased. And when you do that, it's secured by it's a forgiven loan with a deed of trust. And you get more money, you need a modification to increase that, say from 40 to 50 or from 45 to 55.
And the one that Commissioner Freeman is talking about, that's not the same that's on page 2 with the last name. Is that right?
The page 2 is the mother.
Okay, okay.
Is the mother of the one on page 1.
So the reason I ask about the complication of that paperwork is if that person gets that back to you promptly, the turnaround of that modification is at a 30-day time frame or
No, sir, it's immediate.
immediate? Okay.
That's the 2019 program have a deed of trust, and the securing agent is a housing finance agency. For the 2017, it's an unsecured deed of trust, and the securing agent is Gates County. So you are essence the bank. You have an unsecured note, and it's forgiven over a period of, I think, $3,000 to $5,000 a year. I don't remember.
Okay.
And that won't start until it's finished, Mike, is that right?
Beg your pardon?
When will that forgiveness of 3 to 5 a year, was that when the total project is complete?
No, it would start when the actually note is signed.
Is that unusual for something to take that long from year 2017?
Well, it hasn't been since 2017, but it has been several years we've been trying to deal with it. And yes, it is unusual, but it is an unusual case, no doubt. And I've spent a lot of time on it myself.
We've heard about it, that's why.
I suspect so. And our objective when we get through is to leave the citizens satisfied, leave the program satisfied, and to the best ability we can. And that's where we want to end up. There is a point at some place where you almost have to reach a consensus that it's time to stop. And everybody thinks they've done what they're supposed to do, and that's sometimes where you have to end up at a place where nobody likes where you are, but everybody agrees to be there.
And I'm thinking some time ago, we spoke in terms of the monetary movement and where those funds are kept. And if I recall, and it's been a while since I think we've seen one another, maybe several months.
3 months, yes,
sir. That was held until a certain point in time, so it's not kept in the county.
That's right.
Funds, is that right?
As we get invoices that are ready to pay, works complete, invoices done, we'll do a requisition. We'll send that to Diane's office or to Melissa's office, depending on which program it is, and they will upload into the portal and order that money. And then it'll be electronically transferred in 7 to 10 days.
But where is the money being held? You say it's going to be drawn out electronically, but where is it?
For the 2019 ESFRLP is from North Carolina Housing Trust Fund money and HUD Home money. That's held in the North Carolina Treasury. And same thing, the 2019 is HUD Home money. 2017 is Housing Trust Fund money. That's both held at the state, probably the state treasury level. And the 2018 NR is held with the Department of Commerce.
I have a question, moving up to the top of the page, 2019 there. And it's just about the bid opening. And you said you only had one bidder. The type of license or the level of license that individual has to have to bid, is it general contractor?
These units were all under $30,000, so typically the $30,000 applies to bids over 30. If you don't have a GC, you can't even submit a bid over 30.
Okay.
But we're anticipating these bids, one of them being in the $10,000 range, another one in the $25,000 range, and another in just below 30. That's what our cost estimates were. But we had one, we do have, and I'm getting a little bit off topic, y'all reel me back in if I get too far off topic, but, you know, with the uniform procurement guidance, you can award $10,000, up to $10,000 without procurement. And as long as you know it's a reasonable cost. The $9,700 is one that we could award if we can work out some other tax payment problems and some things like that with it. The other two, I probably will reject and rebid.
Mike, you mentioned on page 2, the temporary relocation, demolition and construction. Housing prices are going up. Lumber prices are going up.
They're up, yes, sir.
Very high.
Yeah.
Because of the way the mortgage rates are. How does the temporary relocation work? Refresh my memory. We got these 4 citizens. How does the relocation part work?
I have 2 things in my mind, so excuse my pause. First of all, we need to make sure that if somebody is temporarily relocated, they're somewhere decent, safe, and sanitary. And the cost of that can vary widely. So one option that we like to stick to is in essence say, you know, here is your allowance for being gone for X number of months, X number of $1,000, and it's based on rent level of so-and-so. And they have the opportunity to go find where they want to go. If they have some sort of the reason for my pause, if they had some sort of a special situation where, you know, maybe our cookie cutter doesn't fit what they need, we have the ability to make them whole and keep them decent, safe, and sanitary with more money. But we try to, the large majority of people are able to fit into that lump sum. Does that make sense?
Somewhat, yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
I'll shoot again if you want me to.
That's all right. I'll have a pause and I'll respond.
Okay.
so let's say that housing is hard to find for what you're trying to, this is piggybacking on the relocation. And that person goes and stays with a relative. Does that change the cost or what's provided?
The temporary relocation, they would be in the cookie cutter. They would be, you know, they can go live with a relative, but in essence, they would rent a room from a relative.
Right, okay.
As you know, we would prefer them go live with a relative.
Right.
If they could, because it's just easier. And there'll be some compensation for being out.
Yeah, have you got somewhat of a scale for that, or is it just something that you work out?
It's what works out, and is rational and is defendable.
Okay.
To the funding agency.
Yeah. My last question, I think, is on page 2. I've been around to this program for a little while, and I remember everything we did were stick-built homes, and that's not the case now, right?
what we are trying to get, what we're getting prices on is off-frame modular homes. We feel like that's probably where we'd like to be. And now, by March 4th, we might have to regroup and go back to an on-frame modular, prefer modular homes, not only for the, a tax value of a modular home after, off-frame modular home after it's put in place, it appreciates over time. And something on the frame with a mobile home, typically like a motor vehicle, it depreciates over time. So we would prefer to have the off-frame modular there. And there is always the option, we could, if that doesn't work for some reason, whatever that may be, you can always have the option of having a stick-built floor plan, that type of thing. But that typically means they're out of their homes a lot longer.
Right.
That's a good point, Jack. I didn't know if, with the way the lumber has gone up recently, if the houses might have to be downsized a little to fit in the parameters of the program, instead of going to a depreciating item.
Yes, I think that would be advantageous. And the other side of that is typically a smaller, more energy efficient home reduces the long-term living expenses of the individual, which long-term allows them to age in place longer, as opposed to, say, being in a nursing home if they can afford to stay home. It's another objective of one of the programs.
Madam Chair, keep answering my questions.
Any more questions?
No, I'm good.
All right,
Thanks, sir.
one point of clarification on page 2. I'll make sure you put it in writing. Program closeout expected 11/13/21. However, a short deadline extension may be needed depending on home production lead time. Okay?
We're 8 months away now from November. All across this program, you are the second group of funding. All across this program, extensions are being recognized by the funding agency due to COVID conditions and work contractor conditions. So as we get probably,
It's another pause.
I can't remember whether it's 3 months or whether it's 2 periods of 90 days. I don't remember, but there's a contract deadline, and then there's a construction deadline, and then there's a completion deadline. It seems like it's 90 days ahead of this. We'll be visiting that to make sure funds are available to do what we need to do.
Okay.
But I have talked with some individuals off the record that feel comfortable with that statement.
I do have one last question.
Okay.
The order of the 4, any particular rationale, reasoning of how the order would go all 4 at the same time? Or is one take precedence of over the others, the condition of the properties, or Mike, or how does that work?
We would like to do them all at one time and as soon as possible. So I don't really have any situation that would place one ahead of another. There are a lot of things involved with that. Prices, who is a home dealer, how soon do they make decisions? Do they go ahead and sign their, all of this money is secured by a deed of trust. Are there note and deed of trust in place, which preparing is not a problem, but sometimes getting it signed and people hesitate. Now, there's just a lot of things there, but as far as having a priority, somebody being priority 1 and somebody being priority 4, we don't have that.
I see
place.
one. I see my buddy out in the audience, and I know he wished you'd start yesterday, or
Yeah,
a few
I
days
wish-
before yesterday.
I
Isn't that
wish
right,
we-
Cliff?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Next, we have Bland Baker, Trillium Health Resources, Annual Report.
I heard 5 minutes. I don't know.
what I got to say in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Should've said two jobs.
Promise?
Well, I don't know about that.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you all. Madam Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the commissioners' willingness to have me here to just talk a little bit about what's going on with Trillium. I want to just say that Commissioner Freeman, his service on my advisory board is great, is supportive, but he doesn't mind asking the hard questions as well. So that's what we need. So, and also Donna Powell, who was your appointee from DSS. She's been a great asset. I've known her for quite some time, and she's been a good asset to the board as well. The other thing I want to say, the reason it's so good to be here is because Trillium has been on lockdown at home since March. Completely. I'm so tired of WebEx, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, you name it, I've done it. And it is so nice to be face-to-face. This is the first, I feel like a bird out of a cage. It's the first face-to-face meeting that I've had since March. So this is great. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with Trillium. Are you going to do that thing for me? Okay. And just in terms of, just for review, in terms of what our numbers, we're 26 counties. We cover all those counties from the Virginia line to the South Carolina border, all the eastern counties. You can keep going. So we have 266,000 Medicaid eligibles. You can go one more. And that's how our funding is based. Our money that we get from the state depends on how many Medicaid eligibles we have in our 26 counties. So also, last year we served about 58,000 people. The cost of those services were roughly $475 million to those 58,000 folks. We actually have about 500 providers that we manage in our provider network that offer an array of services, anywhere from a group home to detox to the hospital to face-to-face, one-on-one services, from outpatient to group types of situations. So we offer a variety of services to all of our consumers. Okay, some more. You go again. You can go again. This is just kind of what we look like. So I was just going to say, it's really hard to kind of talk about Medicaid transformation because that's been a big part of what we've been doing last year and will continue to do this year. And of course, if that wasn't enough, we've had to deal with COVID, which so has everybody else. But so just to talk a little bit about Medicaid transformation, and it's really important for our communities to understand what that is, because it will affect all of our communities, especially our Medicaid population. And so the General Assembly's mandated this transformation last year. Actually, it's going from a Medicaid fee-for-service system to a Medicaid managed care system for all of Medicaid. So, and so what that means is that there are two basic plans for Medicaid. You have the standard plan and you have the tailored plan. So just briefly, so the state ran an RFP on the division website, and they selected these 5 insurance companies that you see on the screen to implement the standard plans. So what that means is they are going to be overseeing the mild to moderate mental health services. We won't be doing that anymore. That's something new for those insurance companies. They'll be handling Medicaid dollars, which is something new for them as well. But that's what's going to happen. And again, they're going to be managing the mild to moderate symptoms as well as the physical health and the pharmacy benefits for the majority of the Medicaid population. Okay, next slide. Next slide. So what's happened is that the timeline for all this to happen for the standard plan for the majority of the Medicaid consumers in our communities. So there's an open enrollment between March the 15th and May the 14th of this year. So everybody, if they got a letter from the state, they're mandated to enroll in one of those insurance companies that you just saw on the other slide. And they're statewide. And I can see where that could be a nightmare, because you may have a provider where they were used to dealing with us, they could be dealing with all 5 of those insurance companies separately, because they may have 2 consumers with Blue Cross, they may have 10 consumers with United Health, they may, so, you know, but I want people to understand what that's going to look like. So after May the 14th, if those individuals have not signed up for a plan, they're going to be auto-assigned. You're just going to be automatically put in one of those plans on some kind of a rotation basis that I don't have any idea what that looks like. Okay. Okay, so in terms of the tailored plan, the MCOs, which is Trillium and the other 6 in North Carolina, we actually are the only entities that can apply for the tailored plan, at least for the first 4 years. So the tailored plan manages the moderate to severe behavioral health symptoms, in addition to the pharmacy benefits, in addition to the physical health. So even though we know how to manage Medicaid dollars, we've never done physical health before. So that's going to be a change for us, and what we've been working on this last year. So again, we'll be managing those high-risk individuals, the high-cost individuals. And so that RFA from the division for the Taylor plan came out in November of last year. And we actually had until February the 2nd to submit our bid, which we did do. Next slide. Next slide. So, let's see, I think I've said that. So the actual awards for the contracts will be in June the 11th, will be when we'll hear. And I guess the thing about it is that the statute says the division can award 5 to 7 contracts. So there's a chance that there may be an MCO or LME that won't get it, which would mean that some of us who do, if we happen to be one of those who do, we may have to absorb additional counties. They could go either way. So, but the statute says 5 to 7, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. And in that RFA that we responded to, there's a separate set of questions about how we will respond if they have an MCO that is not awarded and we have to pick up those extra counties. How will we address that? So we've had to put all that together and include that as part of our response. So the tailored plan will be effective July 1 of 2022. So seems like a long time away, but when you think about everything that we've got to do, it's not that far off, really. Next slide. So what it's going to look like with the tailored plan specifically, we're going to be managing the whole person. And the whole point of this Medicaid transformation is that I can take my card that I have and I can go to my doctor and get my flu shot. I can go to my psychiatrist and get my medication. I can go to my outpatient therapist and get my treatment. And I can go to the pharmacy and get my medicine, all with one card. Because there'll be one entity managing that whole system so that A knows what B's doing, B knows what C's doing, and everybody is working together to manage the care of that individual. And I think that's the whole point that the secretary wanted when she was pushing the whole thing about managed care. So the other thing that will be a part of the tailored plan is the social determinants of health, which we all know, so there's transportation, if you can even see it, housing, food insecurities, personal safety, and employment. Those are the issues that the secretary has pointed out that she thinks are important, Because what we know is that if any of these are not satisfied, and I'm struggling with any of those in that list, then that's going to cause my physical health care to go up. I'm going to be using more mental health services, maybe higher cost to those services. Maybe I'm going to be using mobile crisis more. Because if I don't know where I'm going to lay my head, I can't even think about how I'm going to deal with my recovery if I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. So that's the point of having those, and we're working on programs to kind of address those in our response as well. So we'll have to have contracts with other pharmacies, which we are working on. We're going to have to hire a pharmacy director, and we're going to be having to contact all the primary care physicians and get contracts with all of them. Because the other thing that's important that I want to say, I always talk too much about all this, but I think it's important, is that if someone signs up for the wrong plan and their doctor isn't contracted with that plan, then that doctor that you've been seeing for 20 years, you can't see him anymore. So it's important for the community to know, so when they have to sign up, they need to call their doctor and say, what insurance companies are you contracting with? So I can be sure that I'm going to pick an insurance company that that you are already contracted with. And in terms of insurance companies, all the insurance companies, the services are the same in terms of what the Medicaid services, the array of services. So in that respect, it doesn't matter. There are some additional services that individual insurance companies can provide, and they do provide. That's kind of the icing on the cake for some folks, but still. Okay, next slide. So some of the things that we're going to have to be doing as we move forward this year, we already have a call center that has a crisis line embedded in it and also a business line that works 24 hours a day. We're going to have a pharmacy line so that if anybody has any issues about medication, it's got to be a separate line. We've got to have a provider line so that any provider that has any issues about their billing or about being paid, they have a separate line they can go to that's dedicated just for providers. And we've got to have a nurses line. Nurses line would be for, for physical types of care or situations people have questions about what their coverage is around their physical health, then they'll get the nurses line. So we're going to have separate lines for all of those. Again, we'll be working on contracts, as I've already said. And again, our care management, which is not a new concept, but it will be with different components that will be managing the whole person. So everything about that person will be managed by one person. The great thing about the tailored plan also is that everybody who is on the tailored plan will be assigned a care manager. Everybody. So they will be able to know specifically what's going on with each of those folks on their caseload. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so just some things about COVID, because that's, we've been living COVID as well. So, and I've already said that, we've been working remote since March, and we had some reservations about that in terms of the call center and all of that. And so, but we have been able to manage that. It's all remote. No one's in the office. We actually have increased the rates of our providers for retainer payments. If they have staff that are out because of the virus, they've been getting some extra payments to help support them so they don't go out of business. We've waived all of our prior authorizations for services. We continue to do telehealth everywhere that can be done. We've utilized telehealth to provide services for folks in their homes. I'm about done. You can go on to the next one. Okay, some of our projects, we've had some DSS respite homes for the DSSs when they have kids that are spending the night in the DSS offices because they don't have anywhere to place them. We've been contracting with Integrated Family Services to establish some respite homes for crisis so that DSS has a place to put those individuals so they don't have to stay in a motel or they don't have to stay in the office with the DSS worker. We actually continue to donate the naloxone kits to our counties. That's the other face-to-face thing I did with Sheriff Campbell not too long ago. We've developed kits for providers and consumers around COVID, face masks, those kinds of things. Next slide, I'm trying to speed up. So specifically to Gates County, this is my last slide. So we have actually served 302 people in Gates County last year. 235 of those had mental health services or issues. 43 of those had substance use issues, and then 40 of those individuals had intellectual and developmental disability issues. So that's what Gates County looks like in terms of what services they have been received and what they've been provided. And that's flying through.
Okay, thorough report. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
So total serve 302, Glenn. But
Sorry?
you said total consumer serve 302.
Uh-huh.
But they can get more than one service, so it,
Yeah, so I guess the point of that is that if you add up those numbers, they add up to more than 302.
but it's 302
because-
separate individuals.
Because they can get more than one
Gotcha,
service
that's what I wanted to
within
make
the
sure of.
category,
Yes, sir.
yes.
So in other words, they're unduplicated numbers.
Pardon me?
Unduplicated numbers.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Now, I want to thank you, but also wanted to mention, just to kind of piggyback a little bit on the crisis intervention. I think most of the commissioners have been aboard since you started that program, and that has been a great savings for Gates County and other counties as well. And that is where the providers come out and IVCs and other things that save the county an awful lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Glad you get out of the cage.
Next, we have Mike Irvin and Sharon Smith from Albemarle Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair and chairpersons. We thank you for allowing us to come tonight to basically introduce ourselves. Both Sharon and I are relatively new. I've been there since July, Sharon since September. Albemarle Commission obviously has been in existence a long time. We've taken on a couple of major projects, and we want to make sure that every county knows that we want a partnership with the counties to accomplish the goals for our region. One of them you've talked about tonight, and that is broadband. That's one of our major undertakings, and out of broadband is one of the reasons that Sharon was brought on board through some of our EDA funding. We were allowed to expand our efforts in trying to make sure that every county has reliable broadband. I'm glad to see that your individual tonight presented a good feasibility study plan. We are working on one. In fact, the Albemarle Commission did one in 2016-17. And when I came on board, it had been sitting still for the last 3+ years. So once we analyzed the feasibility study, with technology, it's already out of date. So we've got one on our line, on our webpage, where people can actually go and fill out a questionnaire that helps us. But one of the major things we have found already in working with broadband is that there's no real reliable information that is consistent and accurate, whether it's produced by the state or whether it's produced by the federal government. It's just not exactly so. What we find is that when we've talked to major vendors like a Suddenlink or AT&T or a CenturyLink or any of the big boys that are in the game that are supposed to really be supplying the fiber to us or to the major connectors to us, that they may be there, they may not be there. I'll give you a primary example. If you look on the FCC's information database, you'll see that Suddenlink is covering Terrell County, well, and CenturyLink as well. And if you call either one of them, they say, well, no, we have the right to be there, but we're not covering it. But FCC says they're covering it, so nobody else can really go in there and fight for it. So there's problems throughout our region in trying to get adequate fiber here. So those are some of the struggles that we're facing, and we're trying to get together with counties and get together with vendors to overstep those bounds and try and find out really where we need to be. We're thinking outside the box, we hope. Ultimately, what we're finding is that we need local providers, because if we can't get local providers, the big boys won't connect to them. They just won't do it. I mean, they're not going to take to the final mile. They do not want to spend the money to go to a house that's 10 miles outside of the main city limits of any of our small counties and run up a 5,000-yard dirt path to a house. They're not going to do it. So what's your alternatives? You look at some sort of wireless connection. You look at some of the other options. We're working on this. Believe you me, we are working on it. And Sharon is going to talk about it just a minute, and she would like every county's help. We've been begging every county, here's what we need. That's what that analysis, that feasibility study is going to tell you. It's going to tell you what you need. We already know what some of those needs are. So we want to be part of this conversation too. And we too are no cost to you. I mean, we're here for the counties. So there's no cost for what we're doing, and we want your feedback, and that your feedback and your input will be very important to get the broadband that we need in these counties. The thing he didn't mention in the feasibility study is exactly the parts that we're trying to take. How's it going to be delivered? He's going to find out what the needs are, but he didn't mention one thing to you about how it's going to be delivered. That's what we're working on, and that's key. So I'll get off broadband. Sharon also will talk about economic development, and that's another thing that we have jumped on with both feet this year. So we really want to talk about the needs that we would like to see presented by each county. We would like to know your infrastructure. Do you have any buildings that are sitting here empty? Do you have 400 people sitting here unemployed that need some sort of work? Those are the things that we want to do from economic viewpoint and give you some inputs and help in acquiring that. We're developing a web page that will allow you to link your own link for each county that shows your strengths and your assets. So we're working on that, and we're almost finished with that website. We also, as you know, do workforce throughout this region. We do council on aging throughout this region. We just did a analysis this past week, and you would not believe, out of the 16 COGs that serve the state of North Carolina, how highly we are rated in those 16 COGs. We have the smallest population, but we give some of the best benefits throughout the state. We're rated 1 through 4 on most of what we provide. We are right along with Greensboro. Greensboro has 103 employees to serve what they do. We've got 35, and we serve just as well as they do. So we're going to publish that and get that out so you as commissioners can see that what we're doing for this region is well worth it. Thank you for your time. I'll let Sharon speak, and then if you've got any questions for us, we'll be glad to answer them.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having us again. I'll elaborate a little bit on what Mike said. He was alluding to the survey that we have on our website. It's linked to the state infrastructure, the Broadband Infrastructure Office for the NC Department of IT. We decided that we're going to jump on the bandwagon and promote that as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel and have our own survey throughout the region. Because like Mike said, the Albemarle Commission did a survey a few years ago, and the funders are not too excited about coming back and throwing more money at it since we were actually the ones who dropped the ball. So the state survey has some great promotion materials, and with your permission, Madam Chairman, I'll send you and Ms. Hoffler a link to that, the information packet, and you can use it as you want to. I was a little afraid when I first started working. I didn't want to send all our folks to that survey because I was afraid we would lose our data and not get it back. But we've talked to some other COGs now who have used this platform, and they're getting their data back, and it's been massaged and analyzed by the broadband office. So that's good news for me. I'm an English major. So I'll send that information to you, and you can choose, whether or not you want to promote it. Another thing that Mike was alluding to, your gentleman working on the feasibility study is going to provide you, with what you need, hopefully. And the next step that we would be very interested in hearing is creating a map of the assets, they'll call it. So once his students or their students, have gone out in the field and they see what assets Gates County has and can maybe work with adjoining counties, and we can create a regional map of the assets that are available. And by assets, I mean, do you have right-of-ways by your electric poles? Do you have a library where we can put something up on top of it? We just need to be prepared so that, like he said in his presentation, when the providers do come to us, we're prepared and say, look, this is what we can offer you. This is how we can help. What can you do what can you bring to the table? And we can kind of put a plan together. So we're definitely glad to see what you all are doing with the C2, B2. I need to back up a little bit. Mike said that I was brought on in September. My position is funded by EDA CARES grant funding, and so it's my job to help businesses and our regional economy recover from the economic effects of the pandemic. So we're just trying to do some research, really. I've been, since we couldn't come to meetings for a while, I was reading meeting minutes and trying to determine what the actual needs of the particular counties are. So I'm all ears. I'd be glad to share my email with you, my cell phone. If you have a project that you think needs to get off the ground here in Gates County, it's our job to help you find those resources. And by resources, I mean grant money, program money, foundation money, or maybe you don't need money. Maybe you need some other kinds of resources, but it's our job to find out where they are and bring them to you. So just let us know what those things are. And from time to time, I'll be sending out opportunities that may or may not apply to you, but just think of them, I like to say, as like coupons. It's, if it's a coupon for drumsticks and you don't need that this week, just pass it on. So that's something that we'll be doing too. On the economic development front, again, we really are looking at trying to create a regional alliance because we see economic development as just another opportunity for us to work together and bring more opportunities into the region, not competing with the towns or the counties' economic development efforts, but just adding to. So we have discovered that since NC East kind of left our area and moved on down towards Greenville, that our region's been kind of left to fend for ourselves a little bit. So we've decided it's time for us to band together and see if we can't make something happen up here in the Albemarle region. So that's basically all that I have. Does anybody have any questions or any suggestions for us at the moment? We just want to work with you guys, so let us know.
Commissioner Jones?
You made a statement just at the very end, left to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And I was pulling up, I wasn't going to your survey, but I'm pulling up the Albemarle Commission website.
Yeah.
Looking at it, the commission is split between two U.S. congressional districts.
Yeah.
Us and Washington are in the third, and the rest are in the first.
Right.
Now, I know in the last week, Congressman Greg Murphy has been very vocal for his constituents about Suddenlink. You mentioned Suddenlink.
Right.
Butterfield is our representative.
Uh-huh.
Any talks of including his office?
Oh, absolutely.
And making sure, because I know I read that Murphy had a talk with the top executives at Suddenlink because of a lot of his constituents were having issues, and a lot of the, I don't know if you, my fellow commissioners read it, but a number of municipalities and counties wrote letters, voted together to or separately, but voted as commissioners to come together in town council to send something to them.
Right.
Didn't know that, like I said, I just looked to see Washington and Us
Yeah.
online. If that was part of the plan for, like you said, Terrell County
Yeah.
is supposedly covered, but it's not.
Right.
I mean, you heard the presentation, to leverage any resources that we can of getting, Congressman Butterfield's office involved.
Absolutely.
Like Congressman Murphy's been involved with his folks in the last week.
Right, absolutely. So that's one thing that we're really excited about the state survey for, so that we can encourage our folks to report their access and availability and, all their data to. And anything that we do will include all of our Congress people. Did you want to talk about?
When we first started, one of the big ones was CenturyLink, because there were several places that we knew we could get CenturyLink to because they were already basically there. So we tried to get CenturyLink at a local level to correspond with us, and they didn't. I actually contacted the president of the company directly. He never responded back, but their southeastern governance representative, which covers all of the southeastern United States and is in Washington, D.C. quite a bit, we've had multiple conversations. And he is the one that basically ended up telling me that, yeah, we definitely say we're there, but we're not there, but it's just because of the format of the FCC reporting. And in fact, he was very candid and said, we cannot afford to serve one person like I described for $39 a month. He said, it's just not going to happen from any provider. That's why he said, you need to get these middlemen in. You need to get these guys that are willing to take it from where Highway 17 over to Gates County. So we're there. I've talked to Greg personally. We've worked with him. I've talked to Tom Tillis directly. Butterfield's never called me back. So, there are some issues with getting some of these representatives to call. And I know there's a lot going on, especially right now, but hey, we're trying to represent your constituents, so at least call me back.
And something Jackie said when he was doing his presentation that we heard a couple of meetings ago from a citizen at the podium, the final mile.
Final mile, yeah.
So we'll absolutely go to bat for it, but that's where we need help from you guys, because you know your citizens and you know what's happening right here in Gates. So give us a holler and let us know what the issue is exactly, and we'll go to bat for it. So.
I have one question, Mike, I'd like to ask. You said get the middleman involved. Can you give me an example of who the potential middleman might be?
Like, are you talking about River Street? Cloudwise, do they work with you guys? How about Roanoke Reconnect?
Who is your IP service here?
Your ISP? Do you have
I
a
think CenturyLink, isn't it?
CenturyLink?
They're big when they're coming into a big
Spectrum.
location. How about if you live 10 miles outside of,
And Spectrum's been moving.
Spectrum, right?
Do you have like a Nixon Cable or somebody like that, a local, those would be your middle boys, somebody that's willing to take on the grant monies, for example, the,
USDA Community Connect?
the
No.
$5,000 grant.
Oh, well, that's the band, but the GREAT grant, and you, yeah.
The great grants were, when they first were being offered, were
Mr. Irvin,
$5,000.
Mr. Irvin, you come to the podium.
They were I'm sorry. The great grants were $5,000 per county, and each county could actually apply for those monies. $5,000 doesn't do a lot, but $5,000 is better than nothing to work towards your broadband expansion or your feasibilities or whatever you want to use it for. The point being that we, as the commission, could have applied for a $50,000 grant for our 10 counties, and $5,000 had to be given to each county. Some counties we contacted said, we're going to go ahead and apply ourselves. Some counties told us, we don't even want it. Now, there could be logic, and that logic could be, what am I going to do with 5 when I need 5 million? So we understand that. But currently, part of that grant money, if they are going to allot it, goes to these middlemen, these river streets, these Nixon IP services, these small guys that would take it from Suddenlink and run it out to your houses or your last mile deliveries. But if they're not a corporation, which a lot of these little boys aren't, they might be limited liability companies, or they might be partnerships, or they might be this, that. They won't even let them have the money. And that was the issue that we ran in with this last round of money. So there's always little obstacles that you may not even hear of. We're seeing it, but we would like to deliver that to you and explain it to you that here's why you can't get this money, or this is why it's not going to the last mile, because we can't get a middleman to take it out there and Suddenlink isn't going to do it.
And
There's
that's
no
where
money in it.
That's where the legislative or the congressional step in would apply.
You know who's getting the most money out of this last $30 million? SpaceX. SpaceX. Elon Musk got more out of the state of North Carolina than any other operation, and they're not even in North Carolina, really. I mean, they're doing it, but we tried to contact them directly, and they hadn't responded either, so.
All right, thank you for the
Well, that's good to
presentation.
know. We love to have them on commission.
Thank you.
And Ms. Smith? I encourage you to partner with our county manager on those grants. When you
Okay.
see one that think that we qualify for, please forward it.
I will definitely do that. Thank you.
And also the link you mentioned about sending,
Yes.
send them to all the commissioners.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
Madam Chairman, I would have one more question. I don't know if this really
Yes.
applies or not, so, but our surrounding counties and those that also the Albemarle Commission, are they having any problems that you foresee that you can pass to us that may come to Gates County?
Any problems?
Problems
That's a good question.
that, that could be countywide, say water, for instance?
Okay. Now, that's not my area of expertise, so I'll have to defer to Mr. Irvin.
We do get that. In fact, we just received another water quality grant that we'll be administering this coming year. But we're doing most of those, really your beach areas. We're doing much more on the coastal area than up this way. One thing I did want to mention, and maybe, have you talked to anybody about zoning here?
No, the 160D.
Yeah, I don't know about your 160D.
We just had a presentation yesterday
Okay.
concerning
We
that.
can help with that as well. We do have some COVID money that will allow us to help your county with that if you need some. So if you're looking for any grant monies there or any assistance, we do have permission to use some of our COVID
Okay.
funding money to do that.
Thank you.
And didn't I hear you say that if we have a vacant building, or to let you know, or that we do have a Commerce Park that has sewer and,
Correct.
So
That's one of our big undertakings right now for economic development. We are trying to develop an asset base for every county. We're not trying to be selective in what we give to these potential industrial sites or businesses that are looking for assets. We would like for them to go to the website and say, okay, Gates County has this shale that has power, that has water, that has a population of 400 qualified individuals that could come to work for us tomorrow or 30 days or whatever. We're doing this also in conjunction with COA, Elizabeth City State, and also from the far end of our region, which is Washington County, Terrell, and Hyde, Beaufort County Community College, to also make sure that they would be willing to step in for training if industry comes in and says, we need training on this, whatever it might be. But to give a prospective industrial either company or locator that's helping them to locate a list and says, okay, here it is. A lot of them right now, I'll be very honest with you, are looking for this upper region. They're looking for something that could hit the ports real quick, could hit an airport like Norfolk, or would be on a major highway. And we're trying to sell this 87. We're trying to say, okay, we're going to be on an interstate, might be a few years, but most of it already is 4-lane. I mean, we've got a lot of good 4-lane roads. We also got a lot of bad roads, but that's beside the point.
Okay, sir.
So, you know, we are sitting in a good location, and Sharon has talked to a couple that has seriously said that if somebody applied from this region, there would have been some consideration. The only ones that applied, we had, there's a Shell building in Washington or Washington County, Plymouth, and then there's a Shell building in Pasquotank, and they actually were willing to look at those two, but those two counties didn't get the information to us quick enough for the turnaround. So we've got some people that's looking at this region. We just need everybody to jump on board with us.
Well, we thank you for the presentation. Now we know where to go when we have those questions, County Manager. And you know where to send the information that we can help
Yes.
this region. We thank you very much.
Thanks for
And
having
Good meeting
us.
you.
Thank
Good meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, do we have any citizen comments? Did we have one dropped off at your office, Melissa? Did you have a citizen comment dropped off at your office?
Email or?
Citizen comments.
It was hand delivered, I think.
Yes, it didn't say it was for citizen comments.
That's,
I didn't realize that.
that's an email I received from a citizen. I don't know.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Saunders, 798 Wellington Road in Gates. I didn't sign up because I wasn't planning to say anything, but I have to say, after listening to Mr. Barnett's report, I'm very disappointed. I heard more questions, complaints versus solutions. I take it personal because 3 of the 4 homes that we're talking about, I did the inspection. I signed off telling these families that the homes were in such bad shape, they need to be replaced. I did that. I looked these families in the face, and they said to me that, okay, hopefully there's something we can do. This project's been going on almost 3 years now. We have met with Mr. Barnett, housing, and I'm not representing the housing committee. I am the housing coordinator, so I had to go out and do these things. I just know what to say. I listened to what he said, and a lot of you asked questions, and y'all were very kind to him. And some of those answers he gave were not acceptable to me. My suggestion would be, and I know there's a lot of sometimes paperwork that goes with it, if the money's there, if any way possible that we can find another contractor that can take care of these homes. Every time I ride by these people's homes, there's one on Carter Road, there's one on Mill Pond Road, there's one on Wellington Road, and there was on Tuggee Road. When you ride by these houses and you see these people's homes, especially since it's been raining for it seems like the last 2 weeks, and you see the conditions that some of these people are living in, it takes a lot out of you. Because I looked these people in the eye when I came to their homes, did their assessments, and said, hopefully we can help. Folks, I don't know all the legal what, but 3 years is too long. 3 years is way too long. We made too many promises to their families, and my suggestion is, if possible, that we look at possibly trying to find a different contractor. I know he's probably signed a contract, but if it's possible, we need to move forward because these families aren't getting any younger. Commissioner Jones raised a good question. Building material. Now, we know 3 years ago the material was one price. We can imagine what it is now. And if Mr. Barnett is suggesting that we need to wait a little bit longer, that's going to make things a whole lot worse. So my suggestion to the committee, and I know you guys do the best you can, but if it's possible that we can find another contractor, because these homes and these families, they're hurting. And most of you, I'm sure, have had conversations with them. So as a housing coordinator, I would just suggest, please, if there's something we can do or something I can do to help out with this process, please do so, because I see these families, they look at me, I look at them, and they want to ask questions, and they know, they don't know what to ask. And I don't have answers for them. So please, commissioners, if it's possible, let's find a different route. Because it'd be something different if the money wasn't there. The money's there. We've heard him say it. It's in the Treasury Department, whatever. But please, if we can, let's try to do something for him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well.
County Manager?
Okay. Citizens' comments. Dear County Commissioners,
I'm writing you today to share our frustration concerning the pending home my mom, Lois Hope Walton, is supposed to receive through the Gates County Housing Grant received 3 years ago to replace her home. It is now 2021 and no construction has been started. On behalf of my mom, I have called McDavid Associates multiple times throughout the years to find out what the status was. I would leave messages and it would take longer than it should to get a response, if any. When I did get a response, it would be rude in some instances. The only information I have received is that they can use the same septic system and run new lines. It is now February 2021, and my mom, who is 82, is still living in a home that has major problems that are safe and health issues. That is why she was approved to receive a new home. The roof is leaking and there are electrical issues. My mom worked hard to get the items that she has, and the leaking roof is causing them to be ruined. When I finally got a call through to McDavid Associates, I requested storage for my mom's items since they would be providing the storage for the household items. They told me they couldn't provide storage because we were not out of the house. I would like to know when she will get to live in her new home. Only the Lord knows how much longer she has on this earth. It does not take 3 years to build a house. Many people are blaming COVID-19 for delays. However, this process started in 2019, before the COVID virus hit the scene, March 2019. I would like the Gates County Commissioners to please find out what is going on and let my mom know when she will get to live in her new home. Sincerely, Clifton Walton.
Thank you for those comments.
Yes, ma'am. I feel some of the same urgency and some disbelief in the process. And I think some others share some of that as well up here. I asked 2 questions specifically. One was, how complicated is that paperwork? And I asked that question because I wanted to hear what he had to say, and he said it was not complicated. So then I asked a follow-up question. So if the person gets that to you on a modification, he says it's immediate. So what is the holdup? We went over to the second page, and I asked the question about the bids. Is there a problem? You only had one contractor to submit a bid. So I asked the question specifically about, is it a level of building capacity as far as credentials or licenses and general liability and, all of that stuff out there. And I was asking those questions because I wanted to know what the holdup, why are more people not, everybody wants to work. Why are more people not bidding on it? And in the past, there has been some, I can remember when the stick-built house was built for $62,000, and not many contractors wanted that job because they were accustomed to making, building houses that were 100 plus, and there was no profit for them to do that. That's why I asked the question about, are these modulars? So I was asking questions in a series to develop the fact that it doesn't make sense for this to go on. I would almost say to this board that we take, it's Cliff Walton, right? Mm-hmm. That wrote the letter about his mom?
Yes.
I would almost say that we take, just as a learning, to help with the learning curve in the process, that we take Ms. Walton's situation, not trying to put anybody first, but we had the letter. And we call Mr. Barnett or McDavid or whoever, and we go to the top, as high as we have to go, and say, we're displeased, disappointed. What does this case need right now? Tell me 2 things that it needs right now. You'll have them tomorrow. When you get those 2 things, what are the next 2 things that you need? You'll get them tomorrow. And cause them to be forced to take action and copy whoever, do it by email so that we have a record of it, and send it to as many people as we choose to our congressmen, to our senators, and copy people on that and get some action, and they will see that we're serious about it, bringing it to completion to help these people. And then on their own, hopefully, they'll take the other cases and run with those. But as soon as we know what are the two things that they say this case needs, then let's request the same thing for the other cases. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And I really, I'm not trying to place blame or get away from any blame, but I don't believe we have asked these questions, commissioners, in the past. Some of these questions, and we've, if we're guilty, we're guilty. And we'll let the chips fall where they may.
Okay, Madam County Manager, you've heard, and Commissioners, you've heard Commissioner Owens. Are we in agreement to following through on his suggestion? Do we have some other suggestions as far as addressing this matter, this issue? Now, I asked Mr. Barnett here because of not only the delays, but Commissioner Freeman has been on this for over a year or so when he was chair. And so when he brought it up to me, I said, well, let's get him back again. This is about the third time you've had him here, and it's more delay, more excuses, more reasons, more whatever. So I want to hear from the other commissioners before we move forward.
Do we need a motion?
I just want to know discussion. Is there any more you want to add?
Oh, I agree. 2017 is 2021. That's 4 years. We're not building mansions. It shouldn't take that long.
Commissioner
That's no
Freeman?
reason.
Yes, ma'am, I'm certainly in agreement. I appreciate Commissioner Owens' addition, but those questions that he asked, Commissioner Owens brought forth, I brought forth when he was here last time, including how much money we were talking about. And if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty close to $500,000. And that money is being held up somewhere. And I believe he said before it was in Treasury and we could draw it down, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you can send it in.
Yeah, and I certainly believe that you can, but I don't know why we can't start a process of drawing it down.
Commissioner Jones?
Can we
Yeah,
just-
I saw it. I thought you
Yeah.
had something to say.
No, I was going to see what
Okay.
Patricia, because she's on the House.
Ms. Lassiter, you come to the podium, please.
I just wanted to respond to one of the things that he said, that when the 4 people were submitted from the Housing Committee, they were prioritized, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And because of the circumstances and situations with one of the homes, the problems that we'd had from before, we prioritized that one ahead, and we put them in order when we submitted them. So they were given in priority.
So they're already prioritized?
So, Patrice,
nice to
before
know.
you leave, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Okay, so Patrice, so you're saying, when I look at this list, they are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4?
I didn't see that list,
Right.
but when we submitted them, they
There
were
was
in
a-
1, 2, 3, and 4.
And that's
Yes.
because they're not numbered on our list.
They're not, that's bulleted.
Yeah,
just
they were
bulleted.
numbered when we submitted them.
And that's why he said it sounded like that was going to do modular all at the same time, but there's different companies might be doing different That's, like I said, I hate that Cliff left, but he got his letter in. But he
Yeah,
would
I
speak
saw
on
Mr. Walton come in and he left. He probably had somewhere to go. That's why I asked about the document, because I know he asked the process, and I said, if you're not comfortable speaking, you can send in have someone read it.
And I'll be honest, I'm tired of having to tell Cliff, come to a meeting, and we're getting an update, because it's getting old. Jonathan, what's the latest? I don't know, Cliff, look, but come to our meeting, in February, with everything else you got going on, come out that night to our meeting and get an update. You can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. But it's like, Anthony said, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And
Patrice.
looking at seeing Miss Walton and knowing how the house is, It's only getting worse.
Exactly.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes, it's so, and the reason I'm asking about the way that you listed them, would it be important, Madam Chair, that, and I'm not trying to change who we're talking about, but would it be important that we followed,
Your listing?
that we used your priority
so.
list? You think so?
Yes, we think so from the Housing Committee because it came in the order that they were given to us, and it was a long process to go through, and that's why they were prioritized that way.
Okay.
So we feel that
Are you able to tell us, do you recall who's number one on that priority?
Ms. Walton was number one.
Okay, good, so
Yeah,
that
that's good.
works
Yeah,
out.
that works out.
Praise
Yes,
God, that's
because of the
great.
amount of years. There were some
Okay.
problems from previously.
And
with
could
her
you get us the original list, so as we go down the list, we'll know
I
what the
can.
ranking is?
I will email it to you.
Okay, will you get that to the county manager, please?
Okay.
And Madam County Manager, I know you were writing notes as Commissioner Owens was speaking, but will you get with Commissioner Owens to capture a draft? So we can look at it as soon as possible, to try to get this some traction, some resolution to this, and stop this going around and around and around.
You know, we've been trying to get him here for the past 3 months, since
I know,
December.
I know. He didn't
And
come
it's
the
one
last time.
excuse after another.
He sent another update written, and he didn't come, couldn't come.
No.
And so I said, no, you coming. He was supposed to be on Zoom tonight.
Where's he from?
Where's he from? Farmville.
Okay.
But we needed him here. So anyway, is it agreeable? You want to make that in the motions as far as what we're going to do as far as?
Well, I know that the clerk has taken
She's
notes. Of
taking
course, we have the video. I make a motion that tomorrow, we direct our county manager to draft a letter to the correct parties, asking what are the two most pressing things that are keeping Ms. Walton's contract or progress from moving forward, and request in that, I hope that she will indicate our displeasure for the length of time that process has taken, and indicate in some manner of verbiage that that we want an immediate response to what immediate action will take place, and that they will be hearing from us in a matter of days, not weeks.
You have a second?
Can you repeat your motion? So I can second it.
Yeah, that's a motion.
That's
Thank you,
okay.
Jonathan.
I'll second what Jack said.
I have a motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. So moved. County Manager.
Got it.
Okay. Thank all of you that spoke, and we're trying to get some traction to this,
Yeah,
some resolution.
and Madam Chair, let me just say, I know I said all that. I said exactly what the four of you, I'm not looking for any credit. I said I think exactly or close to what the other four commissioners feel as well.
You said it exactly, word for word, Jack. Yes, sir.
He can read minds.
Okay.
He just can't repeat it.
Then we have administrative reports, the county manager's report.
County Manager's report for January. I contacted the local health department and initiated a special vaccination clinic to include county employees. A busy month keeping abreast of county COVID events and vaccine allocations. County employees have been instrumental in the success of the vaccination clinics. Implemented board action to have the $40 service fee charged to customers in December credited back to the customers' accounts. Met with Commissioner Owens and discussed the operations of customer service. Phone conference with Lisa Cherry, Planning Director, and Jesse Ginn, the citizen concerned with the Rays Beach Chowan River boating access. Participated in the governor's press conferences. Met with Dr. Riddick, Dr. Barry Williams, School Superintendent, and Ray Felton, Board of Education Chairman, regarding the fiscal year 21-22 budget. Met with Dr. Riddick and Pitt Godwin, attorney, to discuss a written agreement between the county and the Historical Society in regards to the historic courthouse. as we have tabled tonight. The number of calls to be made under our Code Red call contract has been exhausted due to COVID-19 mass calls. Billy Wynn, Emergency Management Director, has agreed to use Emergency Management Performance Grant funds to upgrade and extend the contract until 2023. I think he should be greatly commended for this, because this, as well as like with the governor's executive order with our robocalls, exhausted our funding, and we had to purchase more calls, just as they're having to purchase an extended contract. And I would like to express appreciation to all staff who have helped to make the COVID vaccination clinics a success. There have been weather, logistics, phone, and participate issues, but the team has overcome it all. The latest event that occurred yesterday, as I sent out an email today, were the 8 broken windows, storm windows for the historic courthouse. There's one in particular, I was even looking at it while you were in closed session, the shards to one that's beside of the balcony. They've separated. They look like they're ready to fall at any moment. Buildings and Grounds Supervisor Crystal Boone has contacted someone who's coming with a lift tomorrow to remove that storm window and remove that danger, so we can open up again the front to the historic courthouse. And Commissioner Hoffler has contacted James Andrus with the Andrus Company, who will be coming down next week to look at the whole situation. Because the broken windows are not only on the front, there's one on the east wing and there's one on the west side here.
The cause of that?
Is that big trucks coming through?
Could be big trucks, could be the gap that's causing wind to get behind it and pull it out. He suggested yesterday a variation in temperatures, that the building is set in between a resting temperature and daytime working temperature. We don't have that much of a degree of variation. I don't think that's causing the expansion, the contraction there.
Who is Mr. Anders?
He's
Who is
with
Mr.
the
Anders?
Historical Society that came down for the preservation of the building, the contractor, Andrews Company. Correct, Ms. Commissioner Hoffler?
He was the one, that company built the west wing.
The west wing, right.
I just want-
And did the windows?
And did windows.
Right.
They did the windows. Mrs. Hendricks contacted me all day, yesterday, about did the work.
Who did the work, because our Buildings and Grounds Supervisor did not know who to contact for a historical building. And so I knew Commissioner Hoffler was involved with that, so that's the way she got involved.
That's right. And I reported back to you.
Yes, you did. Because when Ms. Boone contacted him, he said that there was a 1-year warranty and it had exceeded the warranty, and so he was through. But when Commissioner Hoffler called, he said he would come down next week.
I asked for clarification because we have to always remember that we're live streaming. People don't know who these people are. I knew who he was, and then I didn't know. I just want to get it on the record so that when people are watching, citizens are watching or listening or in the audience, they know who we're talking about.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That end of your report?
That's the end of the report.
Okay, thank you. Tax report?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll try to keep this as short as I can, but I've got a few more things to discuss with you all tonight than I normally do. I'll start with the tax collector's report, if that pleases the board. You should all have that in your packets. Our collection percentage is up a little bit over last year, which is good considering the COVID. We collected $1.5 million in January. DMV looks good, and we did receive a little over $14,400 from Zacchaeus for the month of January. That's our foreclosure attorney. The tax office has started to take prepayments for 2021 taxes. So anyone who wants to get a jump on their tax bills for 2021, we're encouraging them to, take advantage of that option. There's no penalty for paying early. We will take anything you want to give us before August. Yep. We collected about $2,100 in prepayments in January. That was from the 15th to the 31st. Last week, I spent 2 very full days with Gary Piner from Piner Appraisal Services, appraising new construction and additions in the county that'll be added to the 2021 tax levy. As I've said before, I think the boost in the real estate market from last year is going to be a nice shot in the arm for the county for this year. Any questions before I get long-winded? Okay, good. I sent an email a few weeks ago regarding forced collections, along with a spreadsheet reporting what other counties in the state are doing. As you'll remember, last year at this time, we have suspended, as long as with most of the other counties in the state, we suspended forced collections, which means bank garnishments, wage garnishments, and foreclosures. You said we stopped that in 2020 because of the coronavirus. At least 70 counties, it could be a little bit more, I haven't had an update since the middle of last month. At least 70 counties are back to normal and have resumed their foreclosure processes. Just to refresh you on how that works in favor of the tax collection purposes, delinquent notices, second notices we call them, go out around the first to second week of February to anyone who has not paid taxes last year or within the last 10 years. Those go out regardless. This year we sent those out Friday the 12th. Close to 1,000 notices went out on Friday with the message that they are not paid by March the 15th. They will be advertised at the Gates County Index as usual. Last year, that's where we stopped, was with the advertisement in the newspaper. We took no further actions last year. What's normally is done after that is that in May, the tax office sends out another letter to anyone who is 2 years or more delinquent on their taxes, stating that if those accounts are not paid by July the 1st, that they are subject to foreclosure, and their information will be sent to our legal team for foreclosure purposes. As I said, that was not done last year due to the COVID virus. Just to give you an example, in 2019, $65,345 was subject to foreclosure, and between May 1st and July 1st, we collected almost 51,000 of that. That's an 80% collection rate in 2 months. Last year, we did not send that letter out. We did not send any new accounts to Zacchaeus, and we left about $43,000 on the table that was not collected in those months. Any questions so far? I throw out a lot of. I'm a numbers guy when it comes to dollars. I get excited.
Well, let me, being you allowed me to stop, go back to July. You said 2 years plus?
2 years plus, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, 2 years
I'm good.
plus.
I'm up to speed now.
Right. Dr. Riddick asked for my opinion as a tax administrator on resuming forced collections. Our experience is that foreclosures are the best solution to collect past due taxes. Those May letters bring us as you can see, an 80% collection rate, a big surge in collections. Whether they get sent to the attorney or not, that's a good sign. 80% without having to get Zacchaeus involved is great. We've also found that when people get too far behind, their urgency to pay gets less and less. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they lose more incentive the farther behind they get to get caught up on their bills. Also, if we forego foreclosures for this tax year, we'll be looking at a 3-year delinquency period instead of a 2-year delinquency period. And I don't recommend that. My recommendation is that we resume forced collections for 2021 so we could keep this money in the county.
Commissioners?
Do we need a motion? Madam Chairman, I'd certainly, just discussion-wise, but also in our interaction with our tax administrator, certainly take his advice. So I would entertain a motion and would make a motion that we do resume that.
I second the motion. Well, I agree. The farther behind you get, the less it's a harder hill to climb.
Yeah, and we've seen that with water bills and power bills and things like that. Through the coronavirus, you give somebody 6 months to pay it, and they'll wait to that 7th month, and they don't have the money. And thank you for that. I agree with that.
Excuse me.
We got to vote on it.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
discussion.
Yeah, we'll go. That sounds good, but the citizen in Sunbury, still waiting on an answer for how many years? From Zacchaeus.
Right.
You know, that's somebody that wants to pay. Saw him last week before last. He said, and it sort of goes back to the housing thing. I've been trying to buy this for years because the person ain't paid their taxes. County don't want my money. They're just letting it sit there. You know, I hadn't thought about it, except, you know, like you said, with the housing a while ago, we're missing an opportunity to get money. I'm fully on board. There's no moratorium on what you're talking about. So,
No,
you
sir.
know, I'm on board with taking the advice of the tax administrator and trying to get the county some more money.
And in that, to just go back to what you're saying, in that circumstance, it's a very rare circumstance that we have in the
Right.
county. And a lot of times that happens when there are multiple heirs to that property, and through title searches and deed references and things like that, the attorney, I mean, we're paying them, the citizens are paying us back for paying them, but we're paying them good money to go after these delinquent accounts. And it's not because they don't want to collect that money, it's because in some instances, it's just very difficult
Right.
to do so.
You have any comments on this one?
Well, the example that Commissioner Jones is talking about, Commissioner Jones just sent a second wave of emails about maybe 3 weeks ago on that example. And I know we're talking about, you know, doing things a legal way or whatever, but this particular gentleman, Zacchaeus says they can't locate the parties, and he knows where the parties are.
Right. And I forwarded that information, Commissioner Jones sent that to me, and I forwarded that to the actuarial department, Zacchaeus, and as,
And that's about as bad as
They,
Cliff.
yeah.
You know, every time. I'm sorry, Cliff, you know, it's out of our hands. But what the heck are you paying the lawyer for?
And I see this person at work,
right.
so.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. To follow up on that, so what we'll do, like I said, second notices have been sent out as of Friday. If they're not paid by March the 15th, they'll be in the Gates County Index by the end of March. And then, starting on May 1st, we were going to send letters to everyone who is 2 years or more delinquent on their taxes, saying that if they are not paid by July 1st, they'll be subject to foreclosure, and their file will be sent to our Zacchaeus Legal Services.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I?
Which is the same schedule as 2019.
Well,
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I was going, are those dates set by general statute,
No,
Chris?
no, sir. That's just a countywide policy that the county has followed.
Something
And there's
that-
some things about state that you had to, I mean, some state regulations, like you got to publish and.
Yeah, the publishing date, that is set, you know, it's got to be put in the advertising newspaper by I think it's the 1st of June, but we've always done it like by the, you know, end of
I knew there
April.
were some things that had to be done, but
Yeah.
time in mind.
Okay.
And so you've got a question about that. The reason, I believe that the reason why we do that is because usually the Board of E&R meets sometime in April and May, and it's easier to, if we've already got that payment, you know, it cuts down on appeals for that. So I think that's kind of the time frame we look at. We look at, they're due in January, we send out second notices. We sent out the first bill in September of last year. We sent out a delinquency notice in January, another personalized letter in February, and then we advertise it in March, had the Board of E&R in April, and then in May, we send out the foreclosure letters.
And do we do any garnishment or levies or anything, Chris?
Yes, sir. If your taxes aren't paid by January 5th there's a 2% interest fee, and it's 0.75% for each month going forward.
But we don't garnish any wages or anything like that?
It's not
Or
worth
tax
it.
returns or anything?
Well, the tax returns can get handled through debt set-off. If anybody has a state tax return, or if they have lottery proceeds, that comes from debt set-off through the state, and we can get money from that. From what we have looked at on the wage garnishments and the bank levies, those are the least effective measures, because we can only garnish 10% of pay. to do that. And then by the time you try to get up with their, who they get their direct deposit through and having to set up with their employers, if if they're not getting direct deposit, from what we have seen, it's just not worth.
That's what I was
going that
thinking,
far.
the cost benefit, did it make sense to spend a little money to be able to be more aggressive, to get more money back? Would it be beneficial to do that? I was just, thought about that right then when you were talking about that.
I think we do pretty well on the foreclosure notices with, like I said, an 80% collection rate in 2 months when we've got a 92% collection rate for the year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for that. Also, the last item I'd like to bring to the board, as we've talked about this also the last few months, is the interest from county residents in purchasing foreclosed county-owned properties. I've had phone calls regarding at least 2 different parcels that the county owns. I forwarded the recommendations from the county attorney to you all, and I can review those recommendations if you would like me to. But I would like to ask the board how you would like for us to proceed in communicating with those taxpayers about purchasing those properties.
And Chris, I talked to Chris today, and I asked him to bring that up at this board meeting because he did forward the recommendation from the attorney to each one of us last month, I think it was, and I think we just did not make a decision how we want to go forward. To me, when I was talking to Chris today, I said, well, I'm of the mind to follow what the attorney recommended. So this is why it's on the agenda. If you want him to read the recommendation, he can read that if he forgot about it.
It's brief.
That's in reference to parcel number that ends in 64.
Yes, well, there's 2 parcels, one that ends in 64, and there's one that ends in 259. The 259 has not been recorded yet, but that will be owned by the county as soon as we get that back from the CLS. But yes, sir, 64 and 259.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I think I'd like to hear the recommendation.
Hear the recommendation.
This is the email I received from Mr. Godwin on February the 3rd at 11:47 a.m. Mr. Hill, with permission of the commissioners, I suggest you notify the persons interested in buying these 2 parcels to pay all delinquent taxes in full so you can sign off for the recording at your office, and for the recording at your office, and each buyer bring to my office $226 for deed preparation from the county and recording fees. We can then record the deed, which will be a quitclaim deed from the county. If you can find out the name the grantee wants the deed in and their address for future billing, that would be helpful. Feel free to share with the board. We have discussed this, and this is how I would proceed. Best regards, Pitt Godwin.
I know we're not talking about big money here.
Right.
But are we obligated for any upset on that?
That would be something to ask Mr. Godwin.
Because, I mean, we're operating as a county, and now these parties, we didn't seek them out. They sought.
Correct.
They sought us out.
Correct. The parcel that ends in the 6-4 is about a 0.3 acre parcel. It's located on 158, and that adjoins the person who's interested in buying that person's property. It's landlocked. You can't do anything with it. You can't put a house on it. If he wanted to put a fence or some goats or a storage building or something like that, he could feel free to do that. But he mainly wants that property just to be able to expand his footprint. And like I said, the county owns it. We're not paying any taxes on it, as being that it's exempt, it's county-owned property. Anything, so that if we got reimbursed for what we have in the property, going forward, anything that we make profit on would be, his taxes on a yearly basis.
Now, what about the other, sorry, Jack, there was 2, right?
Yeah, there's 2. The other one is about a 3.5 acre parcel. That's down here on 37 North, just through the stoplight on the left-hand side. It's a wooded tract, and kind of the same thing. There might be some road frontage access from 37, but we had it, nobody bid on it. We auctioned it off.
Was it adjoining, that one didn't sell either, did it?
No, sir.
So, but somebody reached out on that one too?
Yes, sir.
Adjoining property owner?
No, sir.
So that to me is 2 different situations, in my opinion, I think that we're dealing with. One, if it's the adjoining property owner who just wants to, buy the property beside of them. If they were both that case, I was sitting there thinking that tax administrator have the discretion to to make that call each time based off of what the Attorney Godwin has said. But then you get into a thing where the second one you just said wasn't an adjoining.
Right.
So that, you know, my mindset flipped twice in your last spiel because of that.
Well, Attorney Godwin didn't say anything about, we ran the article in the newspaper saying they were going to be, so the public's had the opportunity to have their own chance to purchase the property.
Correct.
So we've done that. He didn't say anything about if we go through this transaction, I know something's going to appear in the newspaper in the back somewhere. He didn't say anything about us being obligated to say that we sold property, like in a different type of ad or anything.
No, sir, he did not mention anything about advertising it.
He just said quitclaim, so
Yeah.
if we're doing a quitclaim, we're done.
Yeah, I mean, we pay.
No upset or anything.
The person who buys the property gives Mr. Godwin his fee, plus the $26 for the register of deeds, and a signature, and it's done. It wouldn't have, in my opinion, it would not have to be re-advertised, being that, like you said, it was advertised in the paper, it was put at the courthouse, it was held at a public auction, and nobody came to bid on it at the time it was auctioned off. And it's been, in one case, in the case of the little 0.3 acre parcel, that was auctioned off, that went to auction, I think, in October. And the piece that I'm talking about on 37 North was the middle part of December.
Madam
And the
Chair,
person-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The person who did not show up to buy the .3, correct?
Right.
But if he had showed up that day and made the basic bid, he would have paid, had to cover the cost of back taxes and the
Right.
advertising and all.
Yeah, if
And he's still going to have to pay that.
Right,
with
yes,
this
ma'am.
one.
He would have to pay everything that the county has invested in the property, and then, like I said, Mr. Godwin's fee and the recording fee. It just like you said, if he had showed up at the auction and bid on a minimum bid, it would actually be less than what he would pay now because of fees and interest. But he did not, for whatever reason, he did not show up at the auction. He contacted us after the fact.
Melissa?
So, I thought I remembered something, I want to pull it up, and it could be, I'm not a tax professional, it could be a whole different scenario. But in 2017, the county did sell a piece of property. It was similar as someone approached us and said, I know the county owns this, I want to buy it. So we did some research. I know at that time, the board approved a resolution to do sealed bid, and we had to advertise that. We received the sealed bid, and then there was a chance for an upset bid to come in. And the resolution outlines, like 5% payment. We received checks, we held in a vault. I don't know if this falls into the same scenario at all, but I do know in the past when we've sold the properties, we have done a sealed bid and advertising.
I recall the property that she's talking about, it's just down the street, you're in Gatesville. It's a different scenario. That was property that the county held the deed to, and this other is property that we actually own by debt. So I believe, I'm glad you brought that up, but I believe they're different.
Okay, what's the recommendation from the
Madam
commissioners?
Chair, I asked the question about the upset bid. I'm satisfied. I'm not concerned about that, having heard the dialogue, and I'll call the vote. I think we have a motion on the floor.
Had a motion on the floor? Did I have a second?
Second, I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So be it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Any other questions for me tonight?
Keep collecting money.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Find me out info on that Sunbury.
Finance correct? Finance report?
Good evening.
Good evening, Karen.
I wanted to update everyone about our audit. I know I have some notes in the finance report, but the final draft was submitted at the end of January, so we did get our audit submitted on time this year. The compliance portion, I talked with Kyle, who was on the audit team yesterday, and they are going through the last rounds for the compliance portion of the audit. So once they complete that and submit it, they're thinking they're going to be able to get that submitted at the end of February. They will compile both the financial audit and the compliance piece into the books that you guys are used to getting. And then as a part of their contract, they come and present the audit. I did ask Tim, who is the head of the team, our audit team, I know you guys would probably be interested in where we were with fund balance from 19 to 20. I did not write down the monetary figure because that figure doesn't really mean anything. The biggest thing that we want to know about our fund balance is how many days would it cover expenditure-wise if we, for example, when we did the interim, when we thought we were going to have to do the interim budget in July, fund balance would have to cover all the expenditures because we wouldn't be receiving any revenue. So at the end of June 30th, 2019, the unassigned fund balance would cover 52 days of annual expenditures. At the end of 20, we did move up to 79 days. The benchmark recommends between 60 and 90 days, so we are within the benchmark. And the average for the North Carolina counties, and this was from the information in 2019, the average was 103 days. So you have to remember that's the average for the state, not necessarily a county that's small like ours. So I just wanted to kind of update you on, we did have an increase in our fund balance, so that was good to hear. As I have put in my finance report, the sales tax revenues remain steady. I will have my final projections ready for our budget meeting on the 24th, is that correct? To talk about where we are there. And our COVID grant, federal grant funds are either spent or encumbered, so we will not be reverting any of that money back. Did you guys have any other questions?
I've got one question, Kim.
Okay.
Nobody questioned it, and I didn't during the consent agenda. The 1188 to the town of Gatesville for relocating COVID recovery funds. Is that all they?
Was that the budget amendment for that special fund? Originally, we had an idea of how we thought we were going to spend the money and how we were going to allocate it. They had requested, the town of Gatesville had requested $6,000. When I received the invoices from them for the items that they purchased, it was less than $6,000. So that money just moved into covering some of the county's expenses.
So they didn't use the whole 6,000 is what it was.
Correct.
Okay.
So that budget amendment for tonight was really just to move around the funds.
That's
now
what
that
I
we've
figured you were.
finalized.
And I didn't know if you knew what the exact amount they ended up using. I was figuring it was going to be less than 6, like one of them had told me. So that's good for us.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Ms. Outlook?
Okay.
Thank
You guys have a good night.
Thanks, Kim.
Ms. Lassiter, you can come on up, please. What did I do wrong?
You want to, no, nothing. We just want to get her home. You want to?
I want to get her, I want to get Ms. Lassiter.
Can I make a motion that we amend the agenda, Madam
Yeah, go
Chair?
ahead.
Madam Chair, if it would please my fellow board commissioners, can we switch new business with old business?
You do have someone waiting to speak on old business too.
Oh,
Angel White is on.
Soon.
Doesn't matter to me, I'm just letting you know.
We're not going to have any questions for Ms. Lassiter, I know. We may have some for Angel, Madam Chair.
I'll make that in a motion, Madam
okay.
Chair, still.
I'll second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
knowing that in discussion, part of that we're on, that Ms. Lassiter is going to be really quick, I feel.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, come on.
For the Title VI program plan, the changes in the plan are the charts from page 25 to 35. The state changed the charts that they wanted to use, so I changed that data. That's the only change for the Title VI program plan that I'm requesting approval for.
Okay.
I make the promotion, we approve.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Also, Ms. Lassiter, you have a face mask?
Face mask.
Mask policy?
Policy,
I think that's
yes.
at your desk, our seats, rather.
Yes. There is an executive order on January the 27th, 2021, that all transportation types be required for people who utilize the service to wear face mask. And it describes the face mask. It also, because, I guess, I don't know, for whatever reason, we had to respond back with the requirements that they gave us and put it into a policy and submit it back to the state. So that's what I did. I started with the purpose and general information, which was what they gave us. And then I explained that because of that, that we required them to wear properly worn masks. And then I explained the actions.
We need a motion.
You need a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the GETS face mask policy as presented by Ms. Lassiter.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chairman.
Properly moved and second. Ready to vote? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you for being hall monitor.
Now we'll move to, let's get solid waste discussion, because she's on the line. Is she on the line? Okay. That's Ms. Angel White? Angel?
Can you hear me?
While we're waiting for her, did you want me to read the rules for use of county convenience centers?
Yes, I do. Oh, there she is.
Let me say I'm on. Can you hear me?
Ms. White?
I,
Ms. White?
I can hear you.
Thank you. We can hear you, so we're ready.
Okay. I've got a presentation that I've shared with the board. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if that works, okay? Give me just a second to pull it up. This is a different system than I've used before. Oh, of course it's not going to work. Let's see. All right, have technical difficulties. Give me just a second. I've got to switch screens. Okay, I think that's what I want to do. Okay, so we have a copy of the solid waste discussion, and you guys will have to let me know. I think it looks right up there. So Diane Hendricks contacted me Monday regarding tonight's discussion, hoping I could provide some insight and options for the county regarding some of the current issues you guys are facing with your convenience sites. And so the issues, as I best understand them, would be concerns due to out-of-county waste and out-of-state waste disposed of in the convenience sites. Plus full sites on the weekends, reducing the community members' ability to utilize the sites. All right, is this progressing at the same rate I am? Because it looks like it's still on the first slide to me.
No,
We see options. We see options.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure. All right, so far as options, after researching and reaching out to some solid waste programs across the state that currently have or had in the past similar issues as Gates County and similar concerns, there are 3 options for programs that they have used to address these issues. In the next several slides, I'm going to give a brief overview of these programs and how the counties and the states have used them to address their concerns. And those are decal programs, pay-as-you-throw programs, and a trash pass program. As far as decal programs go, decal or sticker programs have been used in North Carolina and many other states for many years to address the issue of out-of-county residents using convenience sites. There are 4 North Carolina counties that I was able to find that currently use these programs. And, well, 4 that I found that I was able to get feedback from during the short time period available. And those were Currituck, Johnston, Iredell, and Chatham County. Johnston, Iredell, and Chatham counties are situated kind of in the middle part of the state, so they don't have the exact same issues as Gates County, as they're not affected by out-of-state trash. But they do have issues with out-of-county trash and site misuse, and that's what they were trying to implement their program to address. Currituck County, being situated along the Virginia border, has experienced similar issues with out-of-state trash becoming an issue in its convenience sites. So looking at Currituck County, their program is newly implemented. They actually just started this, so it just took effect in January of 2021. They charge a solid waste fee with their property tax annually. For mainland residents, the fee is currently $150. However, they are likely to increase that drastically following a current solid waste study. Decals that they use are static cling, and they can be moved between vehicles. They are color-coded, and they're good for 2 years. In their program, they made landlords responsible for providing decals to renters. However, the follow-through was low, and Public Works has been receiving many requests for decals from their renters. Initially, the county purchased 25,000 decals, and they just purchased 5,000 more since they've been receiving a large number of requests daily for decals. They spent $6,000 on the decals. The Public Works Director stated that they put banners in the sites to help advertise and market the upcoming change. However, he would recommend at least 6 months of marketing to the public prior to any change. Their county did not do this, and public opposition has been an issue in some areas of the county. They don't have any available data or projections for waste reduction impacts from implementing the decal program for Currituck County. They made the decision based mostly on anecdotal data and observation of site use. The Currituck County site attendants are not local government employees, and they are not supervised by the Public Works Director or the landfill office. They're contracted through Waste Management, and therefore some employees are enforcing the use of the decals and others are not. They are utilizing their local sheriff's department to increase patrolling of the sites to help with compliance and prevent issues that may arise when site attendants attempt to enforce the use of the decals. A second county, Johnston County, they've used a decal program for over 20 years. The decals must be adhered to the vehicle windshield, and they may not be used moved from vehicle to vehicle. If a vehicle is sold or the windshield is broken and replaced, the decal can be removed and the county will replace it free of charge. If the decal is lost, stolen, etc., the resident must pay to replace it. The decals are good for 12 months from the date of purchase and they're non-refundable. Decals are only valid for household garbage. No construction and demolition materials may be thrown away at their convenience sites. So no shingles, no lumber, no carpet, no household renovation type materials. Those materials have to be taken to the landfill. Civil penalties of up to $500 may be assessed for each violation of using the site without a decal in Johnston County. The county commissioners in Johnston County recently voted to end the trash decal program during their October 2020 meeting. Even with the decal program, the convenience sites in Johnston County operated at a significant and growing net loss. The program will end effective 2023. While voting for the program, solid waste officials are still predicting a 40% increase in the user garbage disposal rate at their sites, and they currently have no plan to fund the solid waste program. Iredell County, they use decals. They issue them based on a $56 annual solid waste fee. No more than 2 decals are issued per property. Decals must be affixed to the vehicle. They have a $50 citation that they issue for non-residents using convenience sites and residents who refuse to comply and display their decals. The program was already in place when the current solid waste director began his position. He feels that it's a good program to help reduce out-of-county waste and convenience site misuse. He stated that county leadership support is essential for success, and communication of the purpose of the program and the goals and benefits to the community are essential for the success of this type of program. Chatham County, the 4th county that I was able to contact, they have 11 convenience sites, and some are located in rural areas, and some closely border other counties, which is what prompted the need for the decal program. The county residents pay a $125 solid waste fee annually with their property tax. They are sent 2 decals per property, and landlords are responsible for giving decals to renters. Additional decals can be purchased by residents for $10 each. Decals do not have to be affixed to the vehicle, but they do have to be shown to the attendant. Town residents do not automatically receive decals, but they must purchase a decal if they wish to use the sites. Decals are used in conjunction with other control programs to help reduce site abuse and misuse. Large loads and suspicious load forms are filled out by the attendants for any large or suspicious loads. These are then keyed into a system where they are tracked. An enforcement officer follows up with the suspicious activity, patterns of large loads or suspicious loads that may indicate abuse of the site, and keying these into a system allow them to track those patterns. To assist with enforcement, site attendants complete incident reports. They report incidents to supervisors and call 911 if necessary when they encounter hostile, threatening customers that will not comply with policies. So takeaways regarding decal programs: they can be an effective tool to reduce non-resident use of the convenience sites and abuse and misuse of the sites. Use of the decals can be laid labor intensive for the attendants, especially at the busy sites or during peak times. It's difficult for the attendants to check vehicles for decals while monitoring customers at the site and operating the equipment. Decals have a low cost of implementation, but it is limited to the cost of the decal and the marketing, so that's going to depend on how many decals you have to buy and how much marketing you do beforehand. Enforcement can be difficult, especially if community buy-in is low. Support from county leadership, such as the Board of Commissioners, will be essential. Support from law enforcement and code enforcement is essential. And marketing to the community well in advance of implementation is vital to the success of the program. Marketing should include the positive impacts for the community. A second type of program would be a pay-as-you-throw program. So pay-as-you-throw programs are less common at convenience sites. Onslow County was actually the only one that I was able to contact or find that had a pay-as-you-throw program. They don't charge a set per household solid waste fee, nor do they use decals. The convenience site users pay a flat fee for what is brought to the site. Fees can be set in a couple of different ways. There can be a flat fee per vehicle type or vehicle and load type. For example, $2 per car, $5 per truck with household garbage, $10 per trailer, $20 per trailer of C&D, or you can set a fee per bag or load, for example, like $1 per bag or $15 per truckload. Benefits of the program: the residents who use the site the most would bear the largest burden for the fees, and it would reduce the abuse of the site by out-of-county commercial users who are currently dumping trash for free. The drawbacks would be accountability for employees and security issues with handling money on site. Obviously, you would need some type of surveillance system to monitor site activity as a check and balance for employees and security against theft. The third type of system is a trash pass program, and Wake County has actually implemented this. Wake County researched various options for reducing abuse at their convenience sites. They researched things including the decal sticker program and pay-as-you-throw programs prior to implementing the trash pass program in 2018. They felt that this was the most favorable system to reach their waste reduction goals. The trash pass program prevents any box truck, enclosed trailer, or dual axle trailer from using the convenience without a printed trash pass. Residents who need to dispose of materials at convenience centers using one of the aforementioned methods must apply online for a pass. If approved, they must take the pass along with their ID that matches the information on the pass with them to the convenience center in order to dispose of the load. Passes are applied for and approved or denied 7 days per week, with the highest concentration of applications submitted Friday through Monday. Wake County has 400,000 households, and the highest number of applications they've seen in one day was only 30. In the first year, there were over 1,300 requests. 76% of the requests were approved. 114 requests for C&D, construction and demolition materials, were denied. 16 requests were for out-of-county trash, and they were also denied. The program resulted in a 2.1% decrease in C&D materials and 5% decrease in municipal solid waste materials disposed of in the convenience sites in the first year. Since then, Wake County added additional controls to help reduce abuse or misuse of the convenience sites, such as waste verification forms, contractor lists, increased sheriff patrols, and video surveillance. Waste verification forms are used to ensure that the waste delivered to the site is residential waste. Attendants are authorized to have customer fill out a form that verifies information such as name, address, vehicle plate number, state, source of material, and type of material. Any customer who refuses to provide the information requested on the form is denied the use of the convenience site. So benefits of this program would be that it's less labor intensive. Attendants don't have to check every single vehicle. It does target just your large waste generators, and therefore it's targeting those who are most likely abusing the system. And it's a targeted reduction of the large generators of out-of-county, out-of-state waste. because most likely people aren't driving here out of state to bring 2 bags of household garbage. The drawbacks are internet access and printer access may be an issue for some residents, and you have to have a designated person or persons assigned to approve, deny trash pass, and track the data for the program to be effective. So which program or programs could best meet the needs for Gates County? The decal or the trash pass are the two that I feel would best meet the needs. As I understand the problem, well, facing Gates County as I understand the problem as it is. The pay-as-you-throw program is not an option that I feel would work for the county due to the difficulty and cost of implementation. Also, accountability for employees and security and safety at the site to oppose major difficulties. The decal program has been successfully used in several counties in North Carolina and other states for many years. In the short time I was given for research, I was unable to find any data regarding waste reduction connected to implementing the program. However, I'm not sure that even with more time that data would actually exist or be readily available. Based on my conversations with solid waste managers at several sites, most of them have stated that they didn't collect data regarding waste reduction after implementing the program. The cost of implementation for this type of program is low, and community buy-in has mixed reviews based on how long the program has been in place and how well it was marketed to the community prior to being implemented. Implementation can be difficult, with issues ranging from community members having difficulty receiving decals to site attendants having difficulty enforcing the program at the site due to non-compliant residents or being overwhelmed at peak times, such as Sundays or holidays. Counties that have implemented the program and have run the program well over the long term seem to like the program and feel that it's effective in addressing the issue of out-of-county waste and site misuse. The Trash Pass program has been an effective program for Wake County to use to reduce out-of-county and commercial waste from coming into their convenience sites. In 1 year, they had a combined 7.1% reduction in waste volume coming into their convenience sites, documented and attributed to that program. So if Gates County were to follow that trend, it would result in a reduction of almost 400 tons of garbage in a 12-month period. To put that in perspective, that would equal about 3 months of garbage from the Sunbury site. The Trash Pass program would be less labor intensive. No decals would have to be issued. Replacements would not be an issue. Attendants would not have to check every vehicle. Every resident would not be responsible for the abusive actions of the few. The program works to target those likely abusing the system. Internet access and print capabilities may be an issue with some residents, but there could possibly be a system put in place to overcome those issues, providing the resident is willing to provide required information over the phone and pick up a form at the county office. Whatever the leadership decides is the ultimate answer and program they feel best meets the needs of the community, marketing and community buy-in will be key to its success. And you guys have my contact information on your copy of the program.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. You've given us a lot to think about, very thorough. I don't have any questions. I think we should just take this as what it is, as information, and see what we need to do going forward. We do continue to get issues with citizens complaining, concerned about out-of-county persons using our sites. So I think this is why we did this, so that we have something on, on the table so we can take a look at for future or discuss at another meeting. But I thank Ms. White for taking the time for this presentation. Are there any questions or comments?
I think that, like Madam Chair said, that it's a topic that keeps coming up, like the water. We're 4 months from finishing the budget, working on and finishing the budget. And I think this is going to take longer than 4 months because there's a number of options. I think this needs to be our next task so that the 2022, July 1, 2022, for implement changes, we take our time and look Once we take a deep dive in it, we might see something that we like or not like, and that way, start this fall, start researching it, and put 4 or 5 good months in it to be able to articulate the information to the citizens.
Okay, I think that's.
Definitely, if there's, this was definitely information that was, that I was able to gather in just a very short period of time. If you have other questions or specific questions, I can try to find information from county managers that actually have these types of programs for you.
Okay, we'll have Ms. Hendricks to stay in touch with you as we look through the materials, but we thank you for the presentation, and we will be in touch in the near future when this comes back up on our to-do list after the budget and everything else we have to tackle this fiscal year. Thank you again.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you.
Other departmental reports are in our packet. We did get reports from the volunteer fire departments. You have those in your packet. We have. Did we get them from everyone this time? I know we got one coming in late. That was Hallsville. Okay, Gates is not included. And we were waiting on a couple. So they have submitted their report. We also have a report from Barbara Yates as far as the update on the Shelter Advisory Board. And they have a new vehicle that she included pictures of that vehicle.
Mention Jack.
Mission Jack. Yeah, we got to mention Jack. Got to mention Jack.
No dog.
No dog. Okay.
Isn't Jack the name of the dog?
They said it didn't matter anymore, didn't they? Yeah, he died.
I think Jack has a birthday or something, I don't know. We have the county calendar. I would like to draw your attention to the 22nd, which is Monday. I know we put all these dates on the calendar for placeholders, and I was asking the clerk, Ms. Lawrence, about the 22nd. I understand the 24th is when the departments are gathered before us to present, the county manager present the preliminary, the project budget. But the 22nd, I was informed that's like a retreat. Is that the retreat? It was not the retreat. It's the retreat.
It's been done differently.
Oh, okay.
Every year. Sometimes the board has given.
Budget retreat.
Sometimes the board has wanted to meet prior to departmental reports to discuss your initiatives. It's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Okay. What does the commissioners desire? We have 22nd is Monday. Ms. Lawrence said that's been done different ways, that we can meet with the county manager and set, I guess, expectations of what we want to see presented before the departments come on the 24th.
Well, at this point, as far as I'm concerned, it would be, if we met on the 22nd, it would be very brief. We haven't had the opportunity to compile a lot of thoughts, constructive, really constructive.
I'm of the mind that we listen to the presentations from the department. That'll give us some framework of where they're going with their budget. I mean, they're the day-to-day managers of their budget along with the county manager.
Well, having said that, we could be sitting there being all ears, taking notes,
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what's your pleasure? You want to?
I agree we go, I agree we hear, I would like to say, let's hear from the department heads first.
Okay.
And then we can might help us develop.
So you want to cancel Monday's February the 22nd meeting? That's what I'm hearing?
I think at this point it would.
I know you do.
Well,
Commissioner Jones?
we need to amend the agenda again.
Okay.
Maybe?
If I may, we need to amend the agenda.
What do we do?
Personnel. At the end of this meeting.
You're looking at your calendar.
While we're looking at the calendar, just something.
When we were in closed session, we didn't indicate when we were going to meet to go over that document that's, you're going to be
So
talking
do we need a
Oh,
special
okay.
meeting for that? Yeah.
Yeah, we
And guess
do.
what? We need to go into closed session for that, maybe? a very quick closed session, I would hope.
If you're ready to do it, you can keep that meeting on Monday, because it's already noticed.
Oh. That's,
That's a good idea.
that's up to
That's a
you.
good
If you,
idea.
That's a good
if
idea.
you think that's enough
Saves
time,
money.
Won't take
kill
long.
two, then yeah, we don't need to go.
Special meeting?
That makes it a little easier on me.
Okay.
That'll work.
Let's have a,
Makes it
spe-
a little cheaper for us.
that's a
And-
special meeting on the 22nd at
Date,
6:30.
date of that is,
February
I mean,
20th.
excuse me, the time. That's
Six, it says 6:30. Y'all want to be earlier?
It's not
No,
a
it's good.
special meeting, it's already on your calendar.
Gotcha.
So we're just not canceling the meeting.
Okay.
And the only item on the agenda is gonna be
Closed
closed session.
session. And 6:30?
What time? 6:30?
6:30 is good.
Thank you,
And that would
Melissa.
be probably very, not very long.
No.
I'll bring dinner that night.
All right. So we got the calendar straight, I believe. We don't have any public hearings. Okay, we switched everything around now. We tabled the historic.
Commissioners' comments, I think, something like that.
No, we have the comprehensive water department review. I put that on the agenda. I moved it down to new business. Commissioner Owens is chairing that committee, and we need to have another commissioner to join him in that. Commissioner Jones has asked to be excused from that committee. So in the interim, when I received this, I just read it, and then tonight I asked Commissioner Hopper to consider assisting Vice Chair Owens with that endeavor, and she agreed.
Well, Jack handed me some homework to read.
Well, that means tag you're it. So
Pay's not very good.
Commissioner Hoffa will serve on that committee along with the county manager. And if we need one more, or do we not? Madam Clerk? To be shut it
That would
then.
constitute a meeting
Yeah.
if we did.
If you had another one, no, just.
All right, so Commissioner Hoffa has graciously accepted Commissioner Owens' task. Okay, and now I don't see anything else on the agenda. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Freeman?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, we appreciate all the important things that go on, and it is very important that we serve you. We serve the citizens of this county. And we're here to respond to the telephone calls and the contacts that you make with us, and we provide a service for you. So share our comments, and we share your comments and the commitments that we all have to you and to our community.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to thank everybody that's been involved in the vaccine clinics. Health Department staff, Karen Riddick and all the folks there, all the county employees, volunteers, EMS, Emergency Management, Sheriff's Office. But I see a lot of people thanking them, but I don't think a lot of it will be doable without Easton's Crossroads Ballpark. If their location was not where it is, I've heard traffic concerns have been a mess, but having the ballpark right across the street and having them hand in hand and being there has made lives a whole lot easier, is my understanding. So a big thanks to Danny Hill and the folks with Easton's Crossroads that have allowed their property to be used.
Commissioner Hoffler?
I think tonight that we have accomplished some very important, taken some very important first steps. Very impressed by the broadband initiative that Dr. Riddick brought us to. I think Albemarle, Albemarle Commission, I thought, is there to help us, and especially with economic development. And I think we have made, hopefully we've got the ball moving in the right direction on pricing. So once again, just everyone stay safe. Hopefully we can turn the corner on COVID.
Commissioner Owens?
Well, I want to echo Commissioner Jones's comments about the vaccine process, and I've heard a lot of good things about what's taking place out there, the efficiencies. Most importantly, heard people say they waited in line a real short period of time from compared to other stories that I have heard about in other counties. So thank you, tremendous job. It was a good meeting, and I look forward to results from some of the things that we spoke about tonight.
I'd just like to thank all the staff that volunteered doing the vaccines. I know you didn't have to do it, but you stepped up and helped out the National Guard and the persons at the health department. I just say to the citizens to be patient. I know some of you are still waiting to get your first dose of the vaccine, and now we're finding ourselves having to pull back a little bit, but just be patient. As soon as they can, they will get to you. Please be cognizant of us on the website, or call the health department before you attend a session that someone told you about. But we're very appreciative of all the cooperation we've had in the county, and the commissioners stand ready to do what we can to assist you. Just continue to send in your comments or come to speak with us. But if you can't do that, afraid to do that, you can always write it out and send it to the county clerk or the county manager, and it will be read during our meetings. With that, I thank you. Be safe out there. Take care. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
In case you didn't hear who seconded that, because they didn't lean up to the mic, that was Linda.
Evidently.
You had to get one of those leveler mics.
I'm going to have to get me a string and just